Is your stuff useful or is it just stuff? I recently published a video that got a lot of attention entitled "Get Rid of All My Stuff? No Thanks. Why I Have No Desire to Be a Minimalist." I'll put the link for it in the description box below. After reading all of the wonderful comments, oh, and thank you to anyone who left a comment. I really enjoyed reading all of them. Anyway, after reading all those, I thought it would be a really good idea to do a follow-up. I realize I have many soul sisters out there, but a lot of people left comments saying that they think that you should only keep things that are useful. So I guess it comes down to what you consider useful. And I do consider all of the things I keep, including my home decor and my sentimental items, to be extremely useful because they help me with my emotional health. When I enter my home, I need it to feel like a sanctuary that is far away from the craziness of our world today. I want to be surrounded by things I love and reminders of where I've been and people I love and the experiences that have shaped me. And I want it to be a place that I find beautiful and artistic in my own way. It's important for me that my home reflects me. So in this video, which I haven't decided, but maybe the first in a series of videos, I want to talk about sentimental items and discuss some ways that we can create a home using sentimental items and do it so that it doesn't feel cluttered and overwhelming. So first of all, I'm not saying that you should hold on to everything. There's a big difference between a home filled with meaningful things and a home that feels cluttered and overwhelming. Clutter is when things pile up and they cause stress, and it's when you don't even know where anything is anymore and you feel overwhelmed and buried in stuff. But meaningful possessions are the things that make your house feel like a home. Not everything that you have collected over the years is a meaningful item. Some of it is just stuff. So with sentimental items, how do you know what to keep and what to let go? How do you tell the difference between something that is truly meaningful or just stuff that maybe could go? When you look at an item, ask yourself, does this piece make me feel good? Does it bring me a happy memory? Is it something special in my life? Or is it just taking up space? If something brings me joy and reminds me of a special moment or a loved one, then it has a possibility of staying. If not, then maybe it's time to let it go. Now, having a meaningful home does not mean that you have to display everything you've collected or have ever loved all at once either. Too many things take away from the really special things and will start to make a home feel more cluttered. But you can create a space that feels warm and personal and organized all at the same time. So how do you keep that balance between a home filled with things you love and a home that feels calm and uncluttered? Here are some ideas of what I found works best. Rotate sentimental items. If you have too many things you love, store away and switch them out. You don't have to display everything at once, like I said. Rotate your items seasonally or monthly or a couple of times a year. That way, everything gets appreciated and you can really enjoy your special items without overwhelming the space. Group items with intention. Instead of spreading things all over the place, I found it really works well to display them together in a way that kind of tells a story. If they're smaller items, frame them together or do a small collection of travel souvenirs on a single shelf or table, or a gallery wall filled with family photos like I did. One tip is to use wall shelves, and that way it is super easy to switch out photos and little trinkets without a ton of holes in your wall. Also note that things look really good in groupings of 3 or 5, odd numbers of items. And to make them look really cohesive, try corralling them on a tray. That really helps to eliminate a cluttered vibe and helps to make a statement as well. Create dedicated spaces for sentimental items. A memory box for letters, a display shelf for keepsakes, or a shadow box for small treasures. Or you could have a specific wall or a shelf that you display photos or items. I have found digitizing by taking photos works wonderfully because you still get to keep the item without actually keeping the item. In the last video, I talked about all of the boxes and boxes of old photos and kids' artwork and all kinds of memorabilia that I had been saving for years and years, and how I took pictures of each item and then was able to get rid of all those boxes. But before I did, I made a box for each of my daughters with their memories and gave it to them so that they could do what they wanted with it. My youngest daughter spent an enjoyable afternoon going through her box with her 3 kids, and she then kept a few things and threw away the rest. It was her stuff to do with what she wanted, and I didn't have to deal with it anymore. After all this memorabilia was thrown out or given away to my daughters, I ended up with thousands of digital photos. Besides just keeping them on thumb drives, here are some of the things I did with them and some other ideas that might be helpful. The first idea is to make photo books. I am a huge fan of Shutterfly. It can be expensive, but if you are on their email list, you'll get tons of deals like 50% off or even occasionally unlimited free pages, which is an amazing deal if you have a large book. And I will make books on their site and then wait to print them until they have the best deal for me. There are lots of other companies. There is one called Chatbooks where for a monthly $8 subscription, you can create a small photo book each month with up to 60 pages. And I think that I might start doing that, and I will keep some of those little books and give away some as gifts. Anyway, my oldest daughter had a very unique fashion style when she was in her early teens, and I had a box of her clothing from that time. Now, she lives out of state, and when she came to visit, I gave her the box to go through, and she had so much fun revisiting those days. She initially wanted to keep some of the items, but then she decided that there was really no point, and she requested that I just donate them. But before I did, I took pictures of all the clothing and made a book of the pictures along with some photos of her wearing some of the items back in the day and gave that to her. And I think that she really enjoys that. Now she has the memories that she can revisit at any time without it taking up space or having a bunch of stuff. And now when I take a trip, instead of buying souvenirs, I make a Shutterfly photo book and really enjoy looking at them afterwards and reliving the trip. Some people are really into scrapbooking, and that is another way you could make really special photo books. Or you could just make a regular photo book of a special time in your life. And that's a good way to be able to get rid of actual items, but still be able to visit or share the memories. And lastly, I think a digital photo frame would be a great idea and something I'm considering buying. I could load it up with a lot of my old photos or memories, but still be able to enjoy them on a regular basis. You can also use photo albums or dedicated binders to store flat items like letters or postcards or newspaper clippings. I read about someone who made what he called a brag book, which was basically a 3-ring binder with plastic sleeves for certificates and notes and programs and concert stubs and convention passes, all these things that he wanted to keep to go down memory lane. But it was just really a bunch of paper. Or if you're artistically inclined, you could do something artsy with some of the items. If you're good at sewing, you could make a memory quilt or pillow. I wanted to be able to do that with my daughter's clothing, but unfortunately I'm not that talented. Another thing I did with some dishes and other ceramic glassware and stuff that was not particularly valuable but was given to me by past relatives was to take a hammer to them and make some mosaic art. I could have just donated the items, but instead I had so much fun doing mosaics. I did a fireplace surround in my previous home, and I also did a side table that I gave a family member to remember a specific event. And I also did a large art display in the seating area of my old backyard, which is so cool. I was so proud of myself. Unbelievably, I have no picture of these items. This was before smartphones were a thing. I left the art installation and fireplace around, of course, when I moved, but it was really easy for me to say goodbye to them, I think probably because I had lived with them for so long. I actually saw a comment on Reddit that spoke to the fact that if you leave something out for a while, it tends to lose some of its meaning and it's easier to let go of. So that might be a strategy if there are things that aren't so special, but you're still having trouble letting them go. Leave them out for a bit. Another idea is to do a collage. For example, old love letters with some pressed flowers could become a beautiful piece of art. Or do a shadow box with some jewelry or little trinkets or other small items. And another little item that I wanted to show you that I did is my little baby shoes. My mom actually was storing these in her basement, and she was just going to throw them out unless I wanted them. And I thought of putting little plants in them. So I use it as this little planter and I keep it on my desk. And I just think it's really sweet. I love it. So just an idea. And also I wanted to show you a frame that I did, a card that I got from an old boyfriend, and it's so uplifting and encouraging, and it's so me, it's crazy. And so I framed it, and I keep that on my desk as well. And then these are some photo books, Shutterfly photo books that I did on previous trips. It's actually 6 weeks long. And this book reminds me of how I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and faced my fear and went and did something that I really, really wanted to do and did it all on my own. And I keep these books on my coffee table, and I really find that I look through them quite frequently. So I think it's a great, great idea. At the end of the day, a home should feel like a sanctuary. It should reflect your personality and the things that bring you peace. I love to walk into someone's home and get a sense of who they are and what they love, and that's how I want my home to feel. But the question is, how do you keep that balance between a home filled with things you love and a home that feels calm and uncluttered? Or what if your life circumstances change and you are forced to get rid of things? My dear friend Janice is a good example. Because of her health and her money situation, she could no longer keep up with her home, and she was forced to downsize to a very small 500 square foot apartment. She had to let go of so much stuff, and yet she managed somehow to make her little apartment so completely her. I absolutely love to visit and look at all of her interesting items, and yet it doesn't feel overwhelming or cluttered to me. It just feels warm and cozy and just so her. Here are some tips. Continually be decluttering. We're constantly bringing things in, whether intentionally or not. So sometimes you just have to let things go. You change and evolve, so consider letting go of things that no longer hold significant meaning and prioritizing the most cherished keepsakes to keep your home more manageable and visually appealing. In Janice's case, she got rid of utilitarian items that she was rarely using, and she kept a lot of her knickknacks and art pieces that she had collected and that mean so much to her. And these are the things that really make her home feel so welcoming and so her. Make sure your home functions well. If you can't walk through a room comfortably or find what you need, it may be time to lighten the load a bit and or reorganize. The third thing is keep only the best of the best. If you have 10 things that remind you of the same person or place or event, consider just keeping 1 or 2 that would mean the most. Sometimes having too many things from the same event diminishes the overall value, while 1 or 2 things make it seem so much more special. And 4, let go of the guilt. Just because something was expensive or gifted to you or belonged to a family member, that doesn't mean you have to keep it. Keep only what truly makes you happy, and don't feel guilty about donating the rest. The memories are in your heart, not just in the objects. And 5, another good idea is to send out a text or email with pictures of the items that you want to get rid of to family members or friends. Send them pictures of things that you don't necessarily want to keep, but you want to keep in the family. We did that when we were cleaning out my uncle's estate. So many texts went out, and almost everything got picked up by a family member who was excited to get it. One thing to note, if someone wants one of these items, make sure you give them a date to pick it up by and let them know that if it's not picked up by that day, it will be put back out there for someone else to pick up or it will be donated. You don't want to end up storing stuff for other people. And number 6, for old love letters or other such sentimental items that really no one will want but you, I took pictures of these and threw them out. But an idea that I saw online is to light a fire and burn them in a ritual ceremony. Maybe you're hanging on to old love letters and other mementos from your grade school friends and old boyfriends like I was. I had also lots of greeting cards and drawings and notes and all these other miscellaneous paper items. It would be fun to invite a friend over and do it together. Now, if you're going to store stuff, try to keep it to one bin if possible, or at least one bin per big event. This way, it'll help you decide what's most special. And label each bin for future reference. That'll be helpful for you. And another great idea is to get a beautiful box or trunk or display chest. It could be used as a coffee table or a console table or a chest at the end of your bed, and you can store all your sentimental items in there. This way it's in a prominent place in your home and it's not buried in the basement or something, collecting dust and not being appreciated. Anyway, you could go through it regularly to visit your memories and get rid of items here or there so that you have a place for new memories. On the other hand, if you do want to lighten the load a bit and start to declutter, the stored items are probably the place to start. Do a little at a time and start small, especially with memorabilia. It can get very emotional and it can be super draining. I have found that shorter periods of time is the way to go. Otherwise, I just end up going down memory lane for hours and wasting a day and then end up packing everything back up and accomplishing nothing. And when decluttering these items, here are some questions you can ask yourself if it helps. Why am I holding on to this? Does it, as Marie Kondo would say, spark joy? If it conjures up memories, are they good memories? And could I still remember it without the object? Could someone else get something more out of it? Does someone else I know need it more? If I had an image of it, would that be enough? Can I repurpose it into something useful? Does it help me live the life I want to live? And lastly, here's something to think about that I found on a Reddit thread. If you had to pack just one large suitcase to move a huge distance for a great opportunity, what items would make the cut? Keep those and dump the rest. They nurtured you in the past so that you grew into who you are now, and you don't need to carry them around to prove it. I really love that. And it's important to note, for anything you would like to see handed down, talk to your kids about it now, or take pictures of the item and write the story about it and put it all in a journal so your kids will know what it meant to you and why you kept it, and then they can decide if they want it. And if not, at least they have kind of a history and they can keep the journal, if nothing else. If you want something to go to a specific person, make sure that you put that in your directives along with your other wishes. What happens after you go is out of your control, but at least you did what you could and your wishes will be known. And lastly, to sum it up, when getting rid of meaningful items, remember, don't feel burdened to keep something just because it was a gift. There's no obligation to keep things you won't use. Don't feel guilty about what you keep or don't keep. This is your home and your life and your memories, and you get to decide. And instead of throwing things out, try to donate things that are still in good condition. Whether it's furniture or a collection of dinner plates, or they can still go to a home where they'll be used and appreciated. Share heirlooms with other family members. If you inherited something, ask around to see if anyone else might want it. And keep one if there are multiples. If the item has served its purpose, let it go. There is nothing wrong with keeping sentimental items, but I think it is super important to remember, and I'm talking to myself when I say this, that it's really the memory that matters. And if you get rid of something, you are getting rid of the item and not the memory. In the end, your home should be a place that makes you feel happy, safe, and at peace. So don't worry about what everyone else has to say. Keep the things that bring you joy and let go of the rest. It's your home and your life. And remember, always honor your past, but don't cling to it. Move forward and make yourself some new memories. What ideas do you have to organize your sentimental items? I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts and your ideas. And if you'd like more ideas about creating a home and life that is authentically you, let me know. See you soon.